What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals? Thank you for tuning back into another video. Cody with Panda Bass Fishing. Today we have another subscriber question video. This actually came from a poll we did on Instagram about 2 techniques you guys wanted to get better at. So without further ado, let's do it. So we did a poll on Instagram a few months back. The poll question was, what fall technique would you guys like to get better at? And we put jigs and jerk baits. Those are kind of 2 baits during the fall that not to get overlooked, but definitely don't get as much play because people are throwing crankbaits, lipless and square bills and spinner baits, and they're throwing underspins and they're whacking them. So we want to go a little bit, out of the box here. Jig jerk baits. And we put up a poll on Instagram, and we were going to do a video on which one won the poll. However, it came out literally almost 50-50. And I'll put the picture up right here. You guys can see. So me and Paul talked about it and said, we'll just do a video on both of them. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take over the jig portion of this video. My man Paul.
Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks.
He's going to take over the jerkbait portion of this video because he's a jerkbait king.
Is he done?
So that being said, we had a bunch of videos for this fall. We had videos for now going into winter and the fall transition. And with so much videos for the fall and so much popular videos for, focusing on bait fish, as I talked about a bunch in our fall fishing videos, this actually ended up being perfect for the start of a fall to winter transition. Jigs and jerk baits, and specifically the technique that I'm going to show you with this jig. It's not really a technique, it's just like something that I do with this jigs and the jerk bait during the fall. Moving into winter is they're perfect. I mean, what we're going to show you with these 2 baits at this time when we're starting to move from bass being crazy keyed on bait fish up shallow, hammering them, to moving into bass are starting to pull out and they're moving down back out into deep water. We got a video coming down the pipe on that for the fall transition, following the fish from those back pockets and creeks where they're feeding all fall out to the deep water. Some people struggle with it. There's a video coming. Don't worry. So I'm going to take over the jig portion. Now, this is what I want to talk about. This little guy right here. This is and I don't care what brand of jig it is. This is a finesse jig. This happens to be a Greenfish Tackle itsy bitsy. And notice the trailer I have on this. This is a Strike King Rage Grub, Menace Grub. It's a Strike King Grub. The trailer is important for what I'm about to tell you. I like something that slows this thing down. Even the Keitech swim baits are really good. And we'll get into something a little more about those in a minute, but also not something that's so big, huge craw trailer. It'd be just dumb. It doesn't work right. So, can you hear that? That's my daughter. She's supposed to be taking a nap, and she's pounding on the door because she can hear me talking about jigs because she wants to go fishing. She's 2. She needs to pump her brakes a little bit. So, up shallow in the fall. Getting close to the end, late November, early December, depending on where you're at in the country. Again, I always say that. I know the guys up north are already battling ice. The guys down south, it's 75 and sunny, and their water temperature never changes. Just kidding, but not really. Whenever your body of waters that you fish start to turn to that cold water, about a week or so before that, and a week or so after that, while those fish are still in limbo or moving from shallow up running bait fish in the fall to going up to deep water, deep structure, this gets it done. And I'm going to tell you why. I like the finesse jig because it falls slow. So when you're fishing this up shallow, you get two things, right? You're either going to throw something that it's shallow, so it comes through so fast they bite it out of reaction, or you throw something light with resistance in the kickers so that it flutters down nice. What I like about this is with this setup, it comes down nice and slow and looks like a bait fish. Now, obviously, choose your trailer wisely, choose your color, choose the color of your jig. You can make this look just like a bluegill. You can make it look like a gizzard shad. You can make it look like picker poison. You can do it. So what this is good at is right when it starts to get cold, I'll start taking this on a medium action rod and I'll start pitching this thing around cover, wood, rocks, especially if it's starting to get cold. I'll pitch around rocks in the morning because when that sun comes up, if it's a clear day, those rocks will start to hold heat. The outside of grass beds, again, those real thick grass that's probably started to die off, so you're not going to have a bunch of it. It'll be sparse, but around the thickest part of that sparse grass you can find, that typically tends to hold heat as well. And oxygen, as we know from the summer fishing video, basically around any cover. Now, again, you start to lose that grass during the winter, which is one of the reasons why it's easier to follow those fish out, because they're going to natural stuff during the winter transition. Again, that's a whole nother video coming down the line for you guys in a week or so. But having this thing slow fall, it flutters down really nice, and they're still, those bass are still, they've been eating bait fish for a while, right? They're starting to lose it. They're starting to think we're going to start moving out. We're going to get out of here. We're slowing down a little bit. But that's where this thing shines. It's slow. It falls slow. It comes down. You pitch this thing up near wood and it knocks down, lay down. And it's perfect. And these Greenfish Tackle itsy bitsies, they stand straight up. That's why I like these so much. You can see it's got a really flat head. So this thing comes down and it stands. And then I don't fish this like a jig where I'm dragging and dropping it. This thing flutters down. When it hits bottom, I might give it one pretty good pop just so it comes back up and flutters back down. This thing's coming right back out, almost like you're punching grass. This thing is just, you flip it in, cast it in, wherever your situation dictates, throw it in, let it come down, let it flutter down, let it hit some stuff, pop it once or twice, and come off the bottom, let it move on. This is literally, we're mimicking bait fish with this. It's just a little bit slower of a presentation. When those bass start to think about moving out and they're stopping, don't really want to move quite as fast. This is just a more subtle option. It gives us still a pretty good big profile for a good meal for a bass that's looking to go basically hibernate for winter, I love this technique. As soon as it starts getting cold, as soon as I start losing the focus, that bait fish focus, the craze that those bass have during the fall, as soon as the bite slows down with that, I know it's time to start flipping this thing around. And it gets crushed. I love it. It's literally one of the only times I throw a finesse jig. Otherwise, I'll just throw a 1/2 ounce regular jig. Like, I feel like if I need to be fishing a finesse jig, I can either throw a drop shot or a shaky head. I'd rather throw a shaky head than a jig because I feel like I can get it in and out of places a little better. This is literally the only time of the year that I'll throw a finesse jig. And I throw it on a medium. My kid, do you hear her? She's gonna break down I throw this on a medium fast action rod. I throw it on my shaky head rod. Medium, it's 7'3", medium fast, and I throw it on a really fast reel, like at least a 7.1 to 1 or greater. And I throw it on 12-pound fluorocarbon, whatever you guys use. You guys know Sunline, Sniper, that's what we use, FC Sniper. I've also thrown it with Braid to a fluorocarbon leader. That's awesome too. You get a really good hook set that way. It's not necessary because these hooks, they're not. This is like a 3/0, maybe. Might even be a 2/0. I believe it's a 3. You don't need a bunch of backbone behind it. That medium rod, that's perfect. I use a St. Croix Avid X, and it is just like the perfect shaky head rod / finesse jig rod. So that being said, jig for the fall, more towards the fall transition, mimicking slow bait fish. Don't fish it like a jig. You usually do. Fish it like I just told you. Try it. I guarantee you'll get bit when you start losing that feeding frenzy from bait fish. Now, my man Paul he's going to take over the jerkbait portion of this video. So I'll see you guys next time.
He's done. You're done. Okay. I wasn't ready. Can we wrap that up? Do it again? Okay. Thanks, buddy. I don't know if I'm a jerkbait king or not. I would have to say that's probably not the case, but I appreciate the sentiment. I'm gonna be quick today. I'm not gonna spend a bunch of time on it because you guys have heard me talk about it especially over the last month, on how, how to do it, what baits and that sort of thing. I've got two in front of me. I've got a KVD 300 and I've also got a 110 from Megabass. So both of them are on the Shimano Intenza rod. That's the 610, medium heavy, extra fast. It's my favorite rod for sure for jerkbait fishing. Again, they have it in a bunch of their different lines, all the way up to like Zodius X Pride, and I own one of each. And I love those too. The difference is they're a little bit lighter and a little bit more controlled. And that's hard to explain until you actually have that rod in your hand. But when you're manipulating the bait, it feels a lot easier to manipulate. With the lighter rods, you're always going to be able to throw them longer without hurting your arm, your elbow, your wrist. You can spend all day throwing it. Now, here's the deal. So going into the winter transition, the big difference that you're gonna find with jerkbait fishing is how long you're gonna let that thing set. So before you were doing like a half count, jerk, jerk, pause, jerk, 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 pause, whatever. You're bouncing it pretty quick. You're not really pausing for very long. Now you're gonna wanna let it sit. So the reason that I have these two baits out is because they're a little bit bigger, and that's important going into wintertime. It's important because fish are gonna come from a longer distance to eat a bigger bait. We all know that. The bait itself is bigger because it's made it through that fall transition without getting eaten. So it's grown up too, much like the bass have. So the bait itself is bigger. The bass are not going to spend a bunch of time chasing little fish when they have bigger fish to choose from. That's the same goes for us, man. If there's two pieces of cake in front of you, in front of me, and I'm looking at two of them, and I'm looking over at that guy, I was like, different story. Anyway, point being that bigger bait is going to entice more fish to bite. That being said, you also have to let it set for a little bit longer, which we already talked about a little bit, but we're talking like seconds, right? Let that bass examine it. Because you have to do that, the bait has to be a little bit more refined. So this is where you get into your Megabass baits that are a little bit more expensive. The Lucky Craft baits, which are, 15 to 18 bucks. You get into the Megabass stuff, you're looking at more like 25. But these things stay super still. They do not move, okay? That is a huge deal. Also, colors. You're gonna want to get colors that are more muted. You want a matte finish because the fish are matted down. They're not all shiny and brand new anymore. That penny's been run through the ringer, my man. So they're gonna be a little bit off-putting. They're gonna be a little bit, ugly. You want your bait to be ugly too. I know plenty of people that take sandpaper to their baits. I am not gonna do that with a $25 jerk bait or any other bait that's that expensive. I'm just gonna buy the bait that's, that color. Megabass has an entire line of matte finish, okay? So you wanna pay attention to that. Lucky Craft has, they have some more custom style colors that are all matted. Same kind of deal. In fact, I have two of them right here. I have that color right there. You gotta take a look at that. That's a pretty sweet color. That's gonna be Bora, NC Bora. And look at this one. Now that, not doing it any justice at all. Look at that orange on the belly right there. And that's gonna be Orange Night Shad, okay? So, you wanna spend more time on those colors. You wanna spend more time letting those guys look at your bait. You want like maybe a 3 to 5 second pause. Jerk, jerk. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000, 5 1000, boom, boom. Again, you're spending more time. Make sure you have coffee. You're gonna need it. It's cold outside. Also, you might fall asleep while you're throwing a jerkbait this time of year. Just saying, I know guys, I know people that will wait up to 60 seconds. Let me tell you something. That's where I put my jerkbait down. This is where I draw the line. I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna sit there and say that I only have a jerkbait in my hand this time of year. That's why we did this video. We've got jigs on the front end of this, and then we got my jerkbait part on the back end of this deal. There's a bunch of different techniques that work for this time of year, and you're going to catch pretty big fish. We did this obviously because like Cody said, we put a poll up on Instagram asking about those two baits, and they were identical. I'll show you again right here in case you missed it the first time. But they was really identical. It was like 48 to 52 or something like that. It was pretty awesome. So that gave us the opportunity to really talk about the two techniques. And he spends a bunch of time throwing jigs. I spend a bunch of time throwing jerkbaits. So it just kind of makes sense. Same equipment we always talk about. Go with matte finishes, bigger baits, a little bit bigger stuff, and you can get down to those suspended fish with a +1 or a +2, or some of the deep diving Lucky Crafts, or even the deep diving KVD baits. You know, you can get down to that 10, 12, 15 feet. If you wanted to switch up your line and go with 10-pound line instead of 12-pound line, you can get down even farther. And this is that time where I would actually suggest that. I know it's weird, right? Because I don't ever say that. But if your body of water is such that like those fish are suspended in 15 to 20 feet of water, you need to get down there. The only way you're getting down there with a jerkbait is if you go with lighter line, because most jerkbaits that you find that say they're going to go to 15 feet aren't going to go to 15 feet. They're going to blow out. That's just, especially this time of year with the type of jerkbaits that you're throwing now. If you stick with Megabass or Lucky Craft or KVD with the Strike King, those things will stay on top of it. Jackyl, that's another one you guys want to take a look at. I don't have one in front of me, but the Jackyl Rerange, those are awesome baits as well. They also have them in matte finishes, and they're bigger. You know, you can get up to a 130 millimeter bait there. That's a big bait. That's a bait that a fish is going to come check out. You don't have to get down all the way to those fish, because again, you're trying to get a reaction out of these fish. I mean, these things make noise. There's a reason for that. Those fish are going to be what's going on. They're going to go look for it. So you're getting those fish to move, and once they see that profile, they know that, okay, well, that might be worth going and checking out. So again, stick with the bigger baits, the noisier stuff, the more refined baits that are going to stay still, that aren't going to move up or down. But I would suggest utilizing aftermarket hooks like I always do. Those Aaron Martin's G-Finesse hooks from Gamakatsu are awesome. They're not going to mess with any of the weight transfer stuff that are on these baits already. We've already done. If you look at Tactical Bassin, they've got videos on that, and I've done our own testing, obviously, just to check it out. So there you have it. That's it. I told you it wasn't gonna be long, but it was anyway, because when you get me talking about this kind of stuff, it's over. I'm glad I was the last one. I had the last word, because that dude go on forever. It's unreal. I just, that guy just, the whole time. I'm still on camera. Okay. Hey guys, we really appreciate everything. We appreciate all your comments. We appreciate all your feedback, good or bad. We love it. Please continue to do it in those comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. We love you guys. See ya.